Welcome back after the amazing second game of this day. It's not the evening yet, but it was also a very, very long game, and we really saw how SK were able to utilize their team combo. So were you both, like, we were both cheering for SK in this one. Were your expectations met, and are you happy now, Rob?
In terms of how I thought the game would sort of go out, it kind of met my expectations. This is kind of how I saw it going when you look at, again, names as well as how the draft was. If it goes down to team fights, basically, and there's not really any sort of side lane play that works for the side of Blue Otters here, I was just going to see, it's going to be a Seraphine ult into a Wukong ult, into an Orianna ult, and that's going to be the win, really, that I saw, and kind of how it went.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was like a very long game where initially I think you could really see that there was like effort from Blue Otter to try to get a lead. We had like 2 early Pantheon kills happening, but after that it felt like really hard to somehow get like this little lead that they had into a game that could snowball. And it was also because SK was just kind of strangling them to death, which was also seen like in the replays that we have for you, that it was like a kind of very slow, very long death that Blue Otters had to die because SK, they were just not giving any space to be attacked.
No, SK really showed their sort of macro prowess here in this game, I would say. I think Josh would probably agree. It was definitely a sort of a macro diff across the map as we set up the replay here. You see G Wolfie G pushing top. You see it has to be answered by Melanchola, and this kind of sends the whole of Blue Otters into a bit of a spiral where they feel like they're losing a bit of control on the map.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, from here on, SK is creating the most important thing, how you just generally out-macro opponents, and why I also think they're just a better team. And even though I didn't like their draft, I like their gameplay, and that's why I'm also sure they're gonna win. Now they're creating numbers, and they realize this on the side of Blue Otter, and they're going full panic mode, because they are now just throwing everything at Baron, and SK is like chilling. Now they don't even contest it. They realize they don't contest, and now you can see them hovering towards bot side, go back to mid to keep up control around mid lane, to not fully give it up, take the wave, and it takes so long to even do this Baron. So now SK is like, they're not showing for a long time, they're probably at Baron. The answer is yes, they are there in time, and Blue Otter just goes out with literally nothing, giving up Drake, giving up everything.
Yeah, it was like really hard for them to kind of look into the game. And I mean, yeah, in a perfect world where the Kalista would have gotten a few kills, this Baron would just melt with the Rend. But they unfortunately never really got into it. And then at some point they were so desperate. They needed to try to force fights. They needed somehow to get into the fighting situations. But as we can see in replay 2, this also didn't really end well for them because they're not designed to do this.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's kind of the issue, I think, Blue Otter at some point, because we saw already the panic Baron, and here they saw Wolfie on bot lane, and they were just like, let's throw it all at them, because they're split. The issue is, though, SK is just buying time here. Now Wolfie is teleporting in. Lily is too deep, and they are just getting taken down one by one. Orianna ult doesn't even connect, but it doesn't matter because SK is just, they're putting them in pure pressure panic mode, because Blue Otter just didn't know what to do when SK played out such clean macro, and I think it's kind of the issue they got into. When you play into a team that plays out macro so well, you kind of just, you lose your head. You don't know, because there's no opening SK is giving you on what to do.
Yeah, it was like really this like slow strangling death where they were only giving like little breadcrumbs while SK was just waiting their time in order when their comp was fruiting, and it actually started doing well really fast. Also, of course, we also have some other nice teams that play during this, and there's actually a big upset, Rob. There is a big upset because we have a G2 lose.
I think after we saw G2 beat Mental Rush earlier on stream, we were going, actually, maybe there's something here. They were able to punish the mistakes of Mental Rush, but no, they have been taken down by Eclipse 1-0. It is best of ones. Let's not put so much weight in best of ones. Anything can happen, but congratulations to Eclipse. They're there. Right, they're sat at the top. They're now gone off to face Vitality Rising Bees, and that would be a great game, but I think we got something else coming up.
Yeah, we got something else really spicy coming up, because for the first time today we're gonna see our reigning champions, because we're gonna look into Eterna, and they so far have been smashing the tournament. They're currently standing 2-0, looking really fresh. Also here on this graphic we still have Sashi in the mid lane, but she unfortunately doesn't play today and has like the substitute Ivy playing for her, but they have been really doing good so far. Is there like any player that stands out for you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I actually like some players to watch. I posted on my Twitter as well, little ad here. But one of them was Storm. So I think Thorn, like, she was kind of the big rookie on Solari last year, and she has shown some dominance in jungle. Very, very good pathing, very good game reads. She puts herself into leads super well. Kind of carry jungler, so I really like to watch her.
And I want to see her playing on those really big carry junglers. So let's get into the draft and see if Eterna can go for the free 0 or if SK is able to stop them in their ways, just like they did to the Blue Otters. And yeah, you already said it, there's so much they can pick. They're so aggressive. The last game that I have seen like on the second monitor while watching the SK game was like a 22-minute game, so really fast, really stompy. There's no late game scaling happening. And I really hope we're gonna see this.
I'm still looking in drafts at stuff like we've seen one Nautilus now. I want to see uses of the mandate. I want to see some of these patch changes that Riot have pushed so hard to have happen. One champion that's glad that I'm not seeing here is Orianna, because I still feel that is like the measure of the mid lane on whether you're going to win a game, because this champion, first pickable, tons of pairings, is taken off the table already by SK Avarosa.
Yeah, I mean, if SK did their scouting, there would have been Orianna with Jarvan and maybe Karma if they don't like the champ, because I think those are the 3 prior picks Eterna will go through in B1. Zyra ban is targeted at Yushia, same with Nocturne. And like I said, it's something they commonly banned against Yushia was like the Nocturne Jarvan, which I think SK knows. So I'm pretty sure they will still ban the Jarvan as the last one, just to see if maybe Eterna doesn't pair the Jarvan and they are going to ban it last, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it's also like very justified to just take the champions out. I really like the Seraphim ban because I was going to talk about it, because during the EEC qualifier, Eterna actually lost no single game, and like nearly every game we had C that role swapped from AD carry onto support for the season. I'm going to talk about this later. And she has been nearly only playing Karma and Seraphine, like these really hard supporters that just want to bully their lane. So I'm really hoping we see something else. Another pick that she liked was the Nico, and everything is just targeted against her. So what is maybe still open for bot lane? Okay.
Ezreal first pick. I feel there's a few other more power picks up. Ezreal is kind of a bit of a placeholder champ for me in the current meta, where you go, well, I want a safe-ish ADC that does a bit of damage at range, but it isn't like a core focusing pick right now. And Sivir in response, I want to see maybe we go for a pairing here in the bot lane, get that. Like, I generally like drafting bot lanes together. I don't, especially on red side, like splitting them across 3 and 4. I feel like you end up dropping down in terms of the priority of the bot. It's Sion, it's the guy in the top lane. He is the premier tank on the current patch and has been for like 2 years at this point. We see him in nearly every draft coming up at some point.
Yeah. I'm curious now how Eterna answers, because generally Starry is known to be kind of just the weak side player. So Cassandra, I mean, it's good into tanks, but still the weak side pick, so it makes sense. I was thinking maybe they're gonna go for something spicy, but that's also why SK, I mean, Sion is just such an OP tank. Like, that tank is broken. Like, if you don't have damage for it, and with Ezreal that's already a bad start, you're gonna have a rough time. And that picking away that from Starry, I think, is a smart choice. And that also probably means we move support pick to R5.
Yeah, I mean, we have like with a support that is not like a traditional support. There's so much that could be still played. I mean, there is still something like the Bard. If you want to go like more traditional supporters, you could still put like nearly any other mid lane champion also in the same position, because she used to also play mid lane. So she's basically like the Swiss pocket knife of this league, because she has such a broad champion pool. Rob, you don't look happy. What is your concern?
This is my resting face, to be honest with you.
Okay.
No, I'm looking at the Galio, and I'm a little bit stressed, because I do think if you were taking Galio on Eterna, you would be really lacking damage to kill. Like, unless you're going, Galio has some tank killing on his Q, but it's not really enough for you to get through what we're already seeing. You could then invest into another tank in terms of the support role here for SK Avarosa. So I'm surprised to see a Galio ban. I'm not that surprised to see stuff like the Lulu, to be honest with you, because I can understand why you want to pair that with the Sivir. I'm just overall a bit surprised that we've seen stuff like Cassandra. I'm surprised we haven't seen Cho'Gaths come into the side. That's a matchup that historically used to be quite good. And when I was looking initially, I'm like, well, Sivir's low range. Not seeing that champion come through surprised me a bit. I love the way, though. I do really like the way currently coming through. Just long range damage ruins the kind of day. It keeps these champions like Cassandra at bay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, SK has a good front line with Sion. They have a good range with Wei. Eterna really needs to throw something at them with Engage. And wait.
Amumu! It's locked. It's locked.
It's a flex, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a flex. I was about to say, I think it's actually.
But it's good into Wukong. No, wait. I mean, remember, we didn't play it a lot. I think we might have not even played it in competitive. But Yusha likes to play Amumu into Wukong.
I mean, it's apparently a good matchup, and also it fulfills kind of the same idea. Wukong wants to like pull the whole area under arrest with his Cyclone, and you can do the same with the Curse of the Sad Mummy with even like more pressure. On the other hand, I really like the idea of the Alistar against it, because in worst case, you can just jump into the Mumu, kick him out, try to zone for your team. But yeah, I kind of feel you, Josh. There's like a lot of range on the side of K. You have Wei that is high range, you have the Sivir that is high range. It is so hard to engage into it, because the engage is like very dependent on Alistar and Wukong, that in the best case want to keep out the Amumu, and yeah, we have to engage into a Braum. That's like so ungrateful.
Yeah. Alistar is also not known to be the best engage. It's more, I mean, he can find engage angles, but it's kind of like Wukong, Alistar. Both of them really want to have champs that allow them to, you know, like go in first, and then they can follow up. And if not, they're just gonna get outranged by their Hui here. And now there's even a Braum support to make it even harder to find that engage, which is why I just think SK has a much better draft here.
I think I generally agree. When I see the Alistar come through, I sit there and think, well, they've seen Sivir and gone, so Alistar, good into that champion. But generally, again, as you said, Wukong and Alistar, they don't like being primary engaged. It's why they don't want to have to burn those cooldowns. Alistar is more of a frontline disruptor than it is just a pure engage champion. You just want to be slamming the ground constantly, causing multiple knockups if you can. And yeah, I just much prefer SK Avarosa's draft here. I just think it's more consistent across the board.
So I hear SK and SK again. I hope that we have this time Eterna fans in the chat again to like kind of weigh out both our analysts that are very SK favorite today. But I have a really great argument, because C has been around for a long time, and as you can see, she has been everywhere. She played top lane, made like the second place, also in the tournaments, was like really performing with like picks like the Viego, like the Shen, very carry-oriented. Then she swapped to mid lane last year to play mid lane for Supernova Comets. Also made it really far in the EEC onto the first place and like dominating her group. And also there, her champion pool was like kind of special. Then she swapped to ADC, because why not? In the same year she swapped mid lane. She won Game Changers Rising last year as our first champion on ADC, and now she was like, well, why not make it complete? Because she also had like a short period of jungle before she became top laner. So now she is just fulfilling her destiny, becoming a supporter. And I actually talked to her, and she asked me to list the Nico, the Seraphine, and also the Yuumi for controversy. And she was definitely peeking or hinting at that there might be more in her quiver to come. So what would be like your opinions, Josh, on that?
I mean, it is kind of fun. I think she knows the game well, is like mechanically skilled, and she just has this base fundamental knowledge, playstyle mechanics that allow her to play all roles on a good level, and that's why she can do this and can just be like, let's build a team, and I just slot in wherever I'm needed.
Yeah.
We don't find a support, fine, I'm the support now. Let's go. So yeah, I think it's gonna be fun to watch her. We saw a lot of enchanters from her in the EC Open Qualifier, and now seeing Alistar, it's gonna be a bit different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like, I think the most like standard pick I have seen from her so far, because normally she also likes to have a freedom. I still haven't managed to get her to pick Swain though, so maybe that's like my next objective, to try to get the Swain in there somehow. But yeah, I really love that there's some flexibility happening. Maybe like Rob, how do you think of like Eterna? Do you think like the roster changes were like good additions to the team? I mean, we have like new jungle swapping in, new support.
I was going to mention, when Josh brought up Thorn earlier, when you are replacing Delicat, right, and from a champion roster, that's big shoes to fill. And I think that when I was watching Solari Academy, and I do know a couple of those players, I've worked with Pivotless as well in the past, actually, on certain broadcasts, and I do respect them a lot from what I know that their understanding of the game was. Clef as well on Chester Gaming, and then onto Solari as well. I think when you are adding newer pieces, it does get complicated, but I do think you can push through when you have that understanding that you have been champions before, or the org or the name Eterna has that sort of weight. I'm looking back at the draft, I'm still very concerned. I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, unless Mel Wukong punished Shui, I'm really worried here. I'm really worried.
Yeah, I am really worried. I mean, I also love to like talk to Storia last year, because we also of course all met in Paris for like the big final at the Paris Games Week, and she was like always like so open and so happy that that she finally has like a league to play in, because there hasn't been like the same amount of support in NA as it has been happening in the recent years in Europe. And she also put out a statement from me regarding the support in the women and non-binary scene, and I would like to take a look at that if it's possible, and yeah, hear her opinions about how well she feels supported and how much she loves to play in Europe for us. No.
No.
Okay, we're gonna send a break for a quick minute because there have been some oopsies.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back, as we are just about to get into game. No, I don't know what you were talking about. We've been here the entire time. Bandit, it's been a little bit of a while since the Champion Select first hit our screens. We are going to be jumping into game, and whilst we're watching some very silly stuff occur to Silly Strawberry, do you want to give us a run through of what we're expecting this to look like?
Alright, so whilst we were monologuing for 10 minutes straight until we realized that it wasn't that bad, but in the meantime, while we were running through everything, we were kind of highlighting how both of these compositions kind of feel like they struck a bargain on their laning phase. We're like, alright, we're just going to scale up to the mid game and see what unfolds from there. So the fact that we have already seen more than one kill go through is a
Don't worry about anything else.
surprising turn of events in my eyes.
Yeah, already a little bit of
everybody get out of the call.
Down, both junglers getting involved. So for clarity, we do have Eterna over on the blue side, SK Avarosa on the red. And looking at these two compositions, we're seeing quite a few similarities. We've got these tanky top laners, these engage-focused junglers, ranged mid laners that are going to be able to control team fights, some long-range AD carries, and then some big, beefy tanks in the support role. So have we got like a team that we're looking at going, we think they've got the edge in terms of their draft? Or are we looking at both teams being fairly even until something flips the balance?
I feel, market shift forward.
Yeah, could potentially flip the balance with the Glacial Fissure going wide, though it doesn't look like much else is going to come out of that engagement. Both bot lanes going to around about 60% HP.
Yeah, so to bring it back to the compositions, even though they're similar, they are not the same. And here is what it comes down to. I feel that SK Avarosa have drafted themselves a composition that, despite its similarities, still answers a lot of what Eterna is trying to do. And what do I mean by that? It boils down to mostly they can answer the engage from Eterna whilst not sacrificing their own capabilities of engaging a fight themselves. With all the movement speed buffs that they're able to enforce here with both the On the Hunt, is that, I think, On the Hunt, right?
Yeah, On the Hunt, yeah.
On the Hunt and the movement speed that Hui provides through his kit, you can run away from a Wukong engage relatively easily. And that is where Eterna is really sacrificing some efficiency. Who is going to follow up on a play?
It's going to be quite difficult. And Sivir comps just do what they do. Run very quickly at the enemy team once you've got enough damage to back it up. And then you are absolutely fine to keep on going. Not particularly too sure what's going on with our stream at the moment, but there we are back into it. And like you said, maybe we didn't expect some kills to be going down this early on, but 10 minutes in, we are at an even state. It feels like I've said that every single cast at the moment, Bandit.
An even state, but not balanced at all. The fact that both the Dragon and the Grubs are going the way of SK Avarosa is just kind of goes to show that despite they should be going toe-to-toe, it feels like SK is getting away with all of the sweet little yum-yums that are spread throughout the rift.
Sweet little yum-yums indeed. Well, we are going to be looking at Thorn here for Eterna on that Wukong, who has picked up the Trinity Force, which is a really big spike for that champion, as they're going to use it in the bottom lane, already forcing Summoner spells and forcing the death of Neris there. The Sivir, slight CS lead, but 1-0 down in terms of the deaths.
This is the time to strike for Thorn, when they cannot make use of the Hui movement speed, where they do manage to find the flank. This is something that they'll have to perpetuate throughout not only the early game, but through mid and later on as well, where you have to make use of those flanks to shorten the distance somewhat, because a full frontal engage is simply not going to fly.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues that you have with Sivir. Obviously, you can get those ricochets going, and the Boomerang Blade is going to provide you a load of range, but ultimately you are still like a 550 range ADC, if even that. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you're having to kite back, it can be a little bit difficult. The big engage is going to be coming out from Yushia, though, on that Amumu. And with the passive, the AP damage amplification, that's going to be really nice for Apollonia too.
Going through the lanes then. Where is it going to happen? Because Drake will be spawning in a handful of minutes, I would assume.
One handful of
Are
minutes.
we really feeling like what is the turning point where we can expect these big old 5v5s? Because I see the fact that Thorn is getting their first item, and that this Amumu is getting a Leandri's first before going into what I can only assume to be a more frontline-centered build. What is the pivotal point that you are looking out for? Because for me, it's not that cut and clear.
No, it really, really isn't. I think this is one of those situations where the draft isn't going to tell us all that much. It is about the gameplay and what ends up going down. We're seeing another visit from Form towards this bottom side, so they've recognized that the Civic can be a real threat. It's not going to pan out into anything, but we haven't really seen as much of that focus yet from Yushia. I want to see them get into lanes. I want to see them cause some chaos, because the Amumu is just as good as these ganks as that Wukong is.
Yeah. The farming, however, is at a murdering pace. The fact that the Wukong is actually keeping up with it is actually quite surprising, despite the fact that Wukong is getting ganks off in the meanwhile as well. And look how much pressure they're putting the SK Avarosa bot lane under. Once again, threatening a tower dive, but the movements are here now.
Yeah, Yushi is moving over, but I'm not sure it's going to be in time. We are seeing the health bars dropping low. Once again, Neris taken off the board, this time joined by Aussie. It's a double kill going in favor of Thorn, but the rest of the fight is looking SK favored. Potentially, though, they are able to take down that Wukong, but still, they are the ones licking their wounds. 4-2, the overall kill score.
This is kind of a tight situation to be in, and it's just not connecting in that sense that you would like to see it happen. The fact that everything is invested to answer the proactivity down in the bot lane just kind of puts you on that edge where you have to ask yourself the question, what is really the gains that we can get from this? Because we can definitely not win the game on a play like this, but it does feel like you could potentially lose the play like that.
Yeah, starting to see the spikes coming through here for Clef on the Ezreal. Trinity Force already completed and well on their way to getting the Muramana locked in too. As soon as that 2-item spike is online, it becomes very difficult to do anything up against this Ezreal. Second dragon of the game, looks like it's going to be going the same way as the first, over to SK Avarosa, but Eterna thinking about moving in. All 5 members in the river though for SK Avarosa, and that secures them control of that dragon, but just the dragon. No kills going in their favor after that play.
I just find myself holding my breath in those fights for the curse of the Sad Mummy. You just feel like, oh, that they are getting a little too clumped up. If they do want to go for it, if Yushia does find that engage, they could be sending them home en masse. Not transparent just yet. Meanwhile, Rift Herald is already being targeted by Eterna.
Quite often you see this, the sort of trade of objectives on either side of the map. Dragon going down for that Rift Herald, but that Rift Herald is delayed power. It's gold a little bit later, so if you invest too much to try and secure it, it could end up being net negative. It is going to go in favor of Eterna, and they're looking to take a little bit of a fight as well. We've got Silly Strawberry right in the middle of everything, but with that ult already being burned, they're not able to claim anything off the backside of it. Another play going in favor of Eterna.
And we were talking about how it might be difficult for Eterna to get follow-up for their plays. But as we were saying, the comps are a little similar. Where was the follow-up for Yushia in that one? The fact that she was kind of left high and dry while still having to invest the Curse of the Sad Mummy whilst not getting the Herald. It feels like you've paid MSRP to walk away with nothing.
Apollonia, yep, able to hit the fear, completely negating the engage from the Alistair. That's going to be a skill interaction that could be pivotal as we get to the later stages of this game. But as it stands, Eterna aren't going to be too worried thus far. They've built themselves a reasonable advantage in terms of the gold, but those 2 dragons on the side of SK Avarosa are going to be a thorn in the side of Eterna until they can even up that score.
Going down the list then. We are finding some more movement, and I do admire the fact that Eterna is trying to move further into the SK Avarosa jungle, making sure that they get that deep vision there, but the line is crossed. And it's SK that says, no further. if you want to get vision where you're not allowed to, you're going to have to show up with a greater force to make us.
SK Avarosa, it seems quite similar to the last game we saw to them, where they don't really want to make too many plays too early on. More about biding their time, setting up for those big team fights, which they will have, despite the fact that they are in a little bit of a disadvantage. We can't really take away the power that the Amumu and the Hui and the Sivir are going to be able to offer if you are able to lock multiple people down. I do feel, though, that if the fights are a little bit spread out and there isn't as much committal as we need from the side of SK Avarosa, then that can be where Eterna really start to sort of turn the screws a little.
There is a lot of leeway, though, for both of the teams, but mostly SK Avarosa. With the amount of wave clip that they're in control of, or just being able to walk up a Scion, it adds to that. The fact that these towers can't be sieged at all, and it will have to come down to the big team fight plays as we're looking to lay Xenophi to waste.
Yeah, able to get a pick down onto Ivy, and they're going to go all out, but it's not going to get them anything. A second kill of the game coming through from Yushia, but look at the mid lane. If that tower goes down, then that play is definitely not worth it. And I think they've got the members to make this happen. A little bit of an engage by C, but the Ezreal jumps into the Herald and tries to escape. Able to arcane shift back as Yushia finds a play onto the clone. But they are able to find another bandage toss and extend the play further. And gain a third kill for themselves. This is promising for SK Avarosa, but I'm sure you'd love to have that gold in a slightly different place.
Definitely, but I do want us to appreciate the mindfulness of Yushia there to not invest the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Still manages to bait out the flash on Maharoga. And if they are not careful, it could be bad news for Ivy.
Yeah, Bell here potentially under threat, but the wave's just not coming through in time for SK Avarosa to get that dive off. This feels like this has been 90% of the game, though. Watching Cassante versus Sion, not too much interaction going down. C looking for a little bit of a play here onto LC, but tankiness of the Braum and that mobility means they're able to get on out of there. I'm not going to lie, Bandit, I feel like it's pretty good going that we've had 9 kills in this game 20 minutes in.
I feel lucky. And never have I been welcoming a relatively easy-going game as much as I have today. I mean, both you and I have surpassed the 1 kill a minute plenty of times. However, the controlled manner in which these little skirmishes are unfolding, it really feels like we're feeling each other out, looking for the openings, and it doesn't feel like an uncontrolled madness of mayhem.
Yeah, at least not yet. We are starting to see the advantages bleed a bit more in favour of Eterna, though. That mid lane tower going down, this bot lane tower going to be dropping and denying the Drake stacking. For all the good punches that SK Avarosa have thrown in the last couple of minutes, it's not like they have been able to really get back into the game. Still the advantage in favour of the blue side team.
For now, they are holding on. And I feel like neither of the... Oh, we're setting a trap.
Oh, this is a little bit rude. We're going to stack up the concussive blows, but I feel like the Wukong isn't necessarily the target that you wanted to jump onto. See, equally unsquishy as... Oh, no, it's just become really bad for Yushia. That's a 3-person Curse of the Sad Mummy, but I don't think you're going to get any kills from it, as down goes Alcy, the Braum put in the dirt, and Eterna continue their ascendancy.
Yeah, SK Avarosa just looking for a fight where they are not in possession of all the information needed to be positioning themselves so aggressively into the Eterna side's jungle. And they can thank their lucky stars that it's just going to be a few kills handed over, because that could have ended a whole lot worse, middle.
Wolfie going to be able to pick up the first tower in favour of SK Avarosa, and with only a single plate remaining on that top lane tower, you have to feel that one's going to drop relatively soon. We are starting to reach 2 item points for most of these carries. The Sivir, the Quay, the Mel is getting there, and Clef on this Ezreal is probably at the strongest individual power point that Ezreal has in the game. The Muramana with the Trinity Force provides way too much.
So I am starting to get worried a little bit, and it is about Yushia's build.
Okay.
It is, for a frontline champion, I feel like they're not standing for very long. Deliandries adds HP, sure. We're going to definitely not Sunfire Cape, providing some extra magic resist. I see the vision, but the fact you're not staying alive for that long. And is DPS the department that we're lacking in? I don't feel like that is the case.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the positioning is a bit of the issue, as once again we're seeing a catch going on to Yuxia and Alcy, and there isn't a response, but here it comes, just in time, escaping on low health bars. It's actually the Wukong that goes down, and now this is what SK Avarosa want to do, but they have gone way too far forward. Neris caught with their hand in the cookie jar, but when you got this big beefy Sion, you don't mind all that much. Meanwhile, Ivy wrecking face on the backline, the Cassante unleashed, and everyone on SK Avarosa is falling. The Sion's going to take some time, but he'll go down.
End of the day, Eterna feel like a cohesive team, a unit that can go through thick and thin. SK Avarosa, I feel like they are like maybe in different Discord servers or something, because there's no cohesion. We are getting picked off left and right, and desperation setting in a little too early. And it's not going to get any easier now that you're facing an Eterna equipped in purple.
Yeah, just about, as the Baron is actually taking quite a while for them to take down, and yes, here we are, the Wukong moves over, Thorn's here, she's got a smite, you take the Baron, it's nice and easy, but yes, that desperation that we're seeing from SK Avarosa, so in contrast to what we saw from them in the previous game, where it was controlled, it was measured, and they weren't taking these fights that were just a little bit too much.
And to be very real with you, they have the tools to entrench themselves, to wait it out, to play to their own strengths. Meanwhile, they're still trying to pick fights. Meanwhile, their Sivir isn't even on 3 items.
Yeah, and yeah, great. Yeah, get a pick onto the Alistair, get a pick onto the Cassante, get a pick onto the Wukong. It's not going to benefit you all that much. The Mel and the Ezreal are your priority targets, and if you're never locking them down in a fight, then you can kiss any hope of winning said fight goodbye.
It is going to get a little bit worse before it can get better for SK Avarosa. And as they're getting pushed in from all sides across the map, they're going to have to put their wave clear to use. But they seem to be looking for a fight instead.
Yeah, Wolfie hanging around. We do have Yuxia on the side there. Got access to the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and there are 3 juicy targets stood there in the mid lane. 5 members of SK Avarosa posted up here. They are looking for something, but they only find the Alistair. That's not what you wanted to happen, and despite being outnumbered, Eterna are more than happy to take the fight. They will pay with a little bit of blood, surely, as the Cassandra is taken low, but they've gone all out, and they are fine. Now we've got the Wukong making their way over to finally even up the numbers, but Eterna have already won the fight.
Yeah, Ive having the last word with that rebuttal, making escaping so incredibly hard. Meanwhile, that powered up cannon minion is putting the hurt onto these tier 2 towers, which is going to be such a major influx of gold for Eterna that is already 6k ahead.
And when we go back to the draft, and when we go back to the compositions that both of these teams put together, we talked about how similar they were. We gave a slight edge to SK Avarosa, but we were saying it depends on the gameplay, it depends on where the gold is going. So much of that gold going to Ive on the Mel in the mid lane, going to Clef on the Ezreal in the bottom lane. These carries are really at a point that they need to be to affect the game, but if you look at their opposing numbers on the other side for SK Avarosa, this way isn't there, this Sivir isn't there, and if they just stay behind the power level of the game, they're never going to be able to win fights.
It's just the execution from Eterna. It surpasses what we both have been expecting in now, and you can see them struggle to even maintain control of their own jungle. They're being pushed into a corner, and despite the fact that a cat can jump pretty unexpectedly from... Ooh, when pushed apart, they found it.
Yeah, they're able to drop a Fair bit of damage onto the Ezreal. Here comes the Cyanol charging through. Not able to get a knockup, but a load of damage being dropped onto that Mel, and she is gone. One of the carries removed. Maybe there's something for SK Avarosa, but they have to run backwards because of Ivy on the Cassante. So difficult to burn through the health bars. A double knock coming through from C, but now SK Avarosa feel a bit more emboldened. The numbers advantage is really coming to bear, but Yushia might have gone a bit too far. Shutdown secured for the Sivir, and it's another kill going in favor of Wolfie in the top lane. A 3-for-0 team fight is exactly what SK Avarosa needed.
Avarosa bailing themselves out a bit here with the fact that they can manage to put Nenris in the backline, keep them alive, and despite the fact that C gets some great knockups up there, the follow-up is not there. And when there is not a Mel to put down the DPS to deal with these carries, deal with this front line, you see where they can be lacking. It came, however, from a very, very deep place. The fact that SK Avarosa had to move around the map, outnumber them, then find the pick whilst maintaining their backline, that was a lot of hoops to jump through. And the question that burns in my mind, how often can they replicate that?
It is... When you are behind, you need to find those perfect plays. It is a question of how many times are those perfect plays going to come through. Mid lane priority going to be secured here by Clef, as there's only 2 members of Eterna who are here, but they seem more than happy to tussle with them. Ivy
Look at the respect given.
over, but it's just really difficult to cut through Wolfie's health bar. Now that more members are turning up, that might be a possibility, as the Sun has to ult in the wrong direction. And that is a big engage tool off of the board for SK Avarosa.
Yeah, and they're just, look at the knockbacks. This fight's not done yet.
It is not done at all, but it might be a little bit too far, as Ivy has to dash on out of there, but somehow escapes on minuscule amounts of HP. Yushia is not as lucky, as for the 5th time this game, the Amumu goes down.
And this is kind of where it stops then. When there is no real threat to deal with Nenris Sivir, they have to respect the DPS that can be dished out. Sitting on 3 items right now, Sivir is starting to become that weed whacker that can deal with any of these nasty weeds popping up on the side of Eterna.
I'm not sure it's quite going to be an Infinity Edge on this back for Nemris, but the sooner they get to that item, the much better SK Avarosa are going to be feeling. It's just going to be the pickaxe, but in around about 1,000 gold, this Sivir is going to go from scary to very scary.
And we should probably pay attention to that to see if the Knight's Vow gets retargeted a little bit later on. For right now, we see the decision being made from Eos to be... I think the Hui is in more danger than my Sivir, who can stand from way further back and be impactful. I think it's an interesting decision to be, you know, re-evaluating your options throughout the game rather than just slapping it down on the Sivir, because that is what will be good for most of it.
Yeah, of course, if you are duo queue with the Sivir, then it has to stay on them at all times. But in a team environment, I think you can be a little bit more discerning in your targets for that particular active item. We've got a Baron on the Rift. We've got a Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. Not too much investment in vision or pressure from either team toward the Dragon, but we are starting to see Eterna have a little bit of a look at that objective. Would be the soul point, not the full soul, and I think that's why SK Avarosa are toying with the idea of baiting around this Baron a little.
Yeah, see if they can force an overstep from Eterna. We have seen it happen before, but they can't be overstepping themselves.
Yeah, Wolfie is doing their job, just standing in the front line and being a little bit of a nuisance. See, able to knock them up, but the health bar of that Sion allows SK Avarosa to move towards this Dragon, but they have been split up a little bit. Massive shield going down onto Wolfie as it's lock up onto C as well. The Alistair not popping that ultimate yet, so still incredibly tanky, but we're starting to get a little bit skirmishy, a little bit brawly. We're looking at the Wukong coming over the wall, trying to find a big Cyclone, and they do! A defensive Curse of the Sad Mummy means that actually Moroga isn't able to get as much damage and efficacy as they would like, and here comes the Sivir Ricochets. Already a double kill for Nemris coming out of the bot lane, and SK Avarosa are more than happy to chase down Eterna and claim more blood. A flash away from Ive, but it is not going to be enough. Buys them a kill onto the Braum, but that is it 4 kills in favor of SK Avarosa.
And history repeats itself. SK Avarosa come roaring back to life after that 30-minute mark. It has been foreshadowed by our desk, trying to warn us about the lack of damage on Eterna's side. And despite the fact that that team fight should have gone their way if they had the damage, they had the target selection, but they can't chew through the Scion. And it is just a simple, stark difference that this Sivir can continuously put out damage. Meanwhile, Clef struggles a bit more to stay relevant in such a long fight.
SK Avarosa, they're not quite even in terms of the gold just yet, but they are near as damn it there. The Sivir absolutely unlocked now with that Infinity Edge, and an Infernal Soul Point at your back is going to give...
And they were winning when they were behind.
They were winning when they were behind.
What will they do now that they're even?
Time. I think Baron is going to be the focus of attention for both of these teams now, with nothing else really as impactful as that big purple buff.
Oh, and I mean, look at what...
Was that cleanse?
Ooh. Yeah, it has been used from the side of Clef.
She has to reset, so this could potentially be an opportunity for at least this mid lane tower, if not something more, if SK Avarosa are feeling it. See, having to peel away SK Avarosa from taking that mid lane tower, but they've still always got the option of returning to that Baron if they're feeling a bit frisky.
Yeah, and in their attempts to get that tower... Oh, they found the pick!
Oh no, oh no! Eliminate with extreme prejudice! I've taken off the map, and Ivy needs to be careful as well. The Cassante burning low as here comes the Cyclone for the Wukong, but it's more to disengage than anything else. It took some time for the SK Avarosa composition to come online, but they are playing with a confidence that we don't really see from them pre-30 minutes.
It's something flips inside their brains. The switch goes on, the power spikes are achieved, and then the objectives start rolling in.
Running interference here, the solo laners with the support.
They don't have damage though, without Ive.
Jungler's hitting on, but yeah, what
They're
can
tickling!
Eterna do? They're just throwing out skill shots, not achieving all that much. They're going to be looking for a fight now, but this is a 4v5. I don't think you win this in the best of scenarios, but the bonus stats from the Baron make it even worse. A death for nothing really there from Ivy, and SK Avarosa in the last 5 minutes have taken this game from looking a little bit close to looking a lot more them favoured.
And that last little retreat coming from the Baron, I feel that because of the fact that Apollonia is low on mana, they don't feel like they might have the sustained damage to really deal with the lineup of Eterna in that state. But with Curse of the Set Mummy there and the Flash available, I was fearing for just a counter engage, completely commit to the back line, but it becomes a little more iffy without a functioning mid laner. They are playing it safe. And that has been paying off for them so well, both in the previous game and now once more. They get away with Baron on everyone.
Do need to be careful now, because after taking the Baron, the next siege of the towers is going to be a bit more empowered, but that opens up opportunities for Eterna to get those flanks, to catch out those all-important key targets. But with the Guardian Angel now picked up for Nemris, it's even harder to take that Sivir out of the equation.
Double powered up cannon minions, and you can kind of tell that Eterna are struggling a bit to clear these waves as efficiently as SK Avarosa can, as they're being pushed really far back, and Sion not joining up with this team just yet.
Yeah, but you're absolutely fine to do it. It's the ebb and flow of the pressure. When there are 5 members of Eterna on your screen, you really don't want to fight them, but SK Avarosa know that they've got the Baron up push from the Sion in the mid lane, not quite able to take the tower, but those tier 2s are looking really, really ropey.
It gets them fully back into the game when you're only looking at the gold. Getting themselves 2k ahead at 35 minutes, not as impactful as other times in the game, but look at this Sivir. Only 1 item away from being full build, and that is the real threat.
Super duper scary. Lots of damage, lots of survivability. What more could you want if you're SK Avarosa's ADC? Well, potentially a better engage from your Sion, but has forced some defensive summoner spells out, but still there's just so much health that needs to be burned through, and I don't think that Eterna have got it in them. We've got a
Nemris
little bit
is
of a
just
pick
walking
onto
up.
the side here as Nemris walks down the opposing AD carry, and there's just nothing you can do when the Boomerang Blade hits like that. Once again, another pick under the tower. That's 2 kills, and we haven't even really had a team fight, Bandit. SK Avarosa have just looked at who they want to kill and done it.
They walk up and they just throw their weight around. They're leaning on Eterna, dragging him down to the floor where they can't really land punches from afar. They have to wrestle through the mud, and it's not going well.
I mean, what are you going to do? There's just no damage on the side of Eterna. You can lock these people down for as long as you like, but you're not actually ever going to be able to kill them. Alistair going down as the first Nexus tower is going to be dropped as well, and the death timers are just way too long for Eterna at this point. Ivy can try, go all out as much as they like, but they will not be successful. And SK Avarosa turn around the game, they reach the win condition, and they kill the enemy Nexus.
That felt so convincing near the end that I'd almost start to question, why did it take them 37 minutes to do this? But that's just the magic of the Sivir. Once she's online, she is gonna hit like a truck. You know who else is gonna hit like a truck? A truck like Science.
Yeah, not the greatest ultimate we've ever seen from Wolfie in that last fight, but they were so impactful and so important just by the virtue of their health bar and the amount of presence that they commanded when walking around these team fights. It took so long for meaningful damage to be done from them that it gave all the time in the world for SK Avarosa to pick apart Eterna, to find the chinks in the armor, to exploit them to the maximum potential.
It is what it's going to cost them the game in the end. And I am curious, would SK Avarosa get away with that against a team like, let's say, G2 Hell, right? Who can get a lot more scrappy. I am looking forward to seeing them being pushed further and further and further. They have shown tremendous amounts of adaptability, both early and late. I just can't get enough of it. Can we do one more? Can we do one more middle cop?
I would love to, Bandit, but
Please.
I think that my internal body temperature is currently in the 3 digits, and that's 3 digits European, not 3 digits in American temperature. So I think that I might personally need to take a step back, and with how red your face has got, I think you might need to as well. We are going to be jumping to a short break, but please don't go anywhere. It will make me really sad if you do. There's more League of Legends happening. I'm going to be watching. You should too.